If you've been watching my YouTube channel for a while, you'll know that I spend most of my time painting people. But that doesn't mean I don't love to mix things up. In fact, I found from coaching hundreds of artists to find their style of loose painting, more details on that in the description, that taking a break from deliberate practice is essential when it comes to staving off burnout and reconnecting you with your passion for art making. So this past weekend, I ventured out to the coast to paint the beach along with my friends from East Oak Studio. I know that this would be an opportunity to challenge myself, but what I didn't expect was just how much it would reflect how I help myself and my students tackle hurdles in our studio work, regardless of the subject matter. And today I'm going to walk you through exactly what that looks like. So when I start work with any artist, we always begin by getting very clear on what they want their body of work as a painter to look like. We create a vision board and spend time studying the art that they admire until we can both visualize exactly how those paintings will influence the artist's goal work. At the beach, I realized there were so many different ways I could paint and so many subjects I could choose. I could opt for a sunset cloudscape, or a study of waves crashing on the shore, or a boat-filled marina, or a marshy sunset over the sound. So I took the time beforehand to research and compare my favorite coastal paintings. What was the subject? What time of day must this have been painted? What techniques were used? What planning would be necessary in advance to create that sort of image? And I learned that I'm really drawn to paintings of clouds and sunsets that reflect down into the water. This is exactly the kind of exercise I have every one of my students do when we first begin our work together, as it helps me to tailor all of my feedback to that student's exact end goal. But I know it's not just helpful for me as a coach, it's helpful to the artist too, as suddenly you know exactly what you need to start painting and what skills you need to focus on to really paint the way you want to paint. And by the way, you can get that kind of help from me too. I have a link in the description where you can book a free call to talk with me about your goals and see if we're a fit to work together to help you to reach them. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, so I use this vision board tool all of the time when I tackle a new subject or a tricky commission, or I want to push my technique in a new direction. But painting exactly what I had on my board this weekend would be a challenge, as I was at the mercy of the weather, as well as the time of day and the location that all of the painters in the group decided on. So I had to shift my plan, and I wound up opting for painting waves because that's where the group was going to set up to paint. The only trouble is, I have spent so little time researching this. I only really know of 2 artists who specialize in painting waves, and I haven't spent any meaningful time studying either of their paintings. So the night before the painting commenced, I studied. I combed over these 2 artists' paintings. I noted how they must have worked, how detailed their paintings got, how thick their paint buildup was, how they framed their compositions, and what sort of colors they favored. And then, when it came time to haul my plein air gear out to the beach, I took the pressure off. It's easy, especially as an experienced artist, to believe that every painting should be a success. When you get to know one subject, like portraiture, really well, you forget how hard it was to become intimately acquainted with the anatomy and learning the nuances of capturing a likeness. Likely that skill was built over years or even decades, no matter what subject you tend to prefer. And when you dive into a new subject, you do bring with you your analytical eye, but you're starting fresh when it comes to those nuances of that new thing that you're painting. And that's how I found myself staring out at the ocean, asking, how on earth do waves work? I started asking myself whether the white foam was perfectly flat on the top of the wave, or was it bumpy and irregular? And what about the value shift inside of the barrel of the wave? Or how the color shifts toward a brackish brown instead of the rich blues and greens that I saw across the rest of the water? And it was then that I realized that, no pun intended, I was in over my head. There was so much I had to study in terms of the drawing of the waves and the way the color worked. And there's just no way I could look like I had mastered all of this in just one session. Instead, the best thing I could do was to notice where I lacked information and treat those hurdles, as well as my fumbles, with a kind of wondrous curiosity. It felt to me like embodying some eccentric tinkerer, marveling over an invention that just doesn't quite work. probing it, trying out an experiment, and when it goes wildly wrong, shouting, "Fascinating!" and diving in with renewed vigor to understand why this unexpected result occurred, and then, eventually, fixing it. This was a simple shift in my mindset that had a disproportionate impact on my enjoyment of the day. Yes, I was out there in the beauty of nature with great friends, but I still could have been frustrated or put off by a difficult painting. Instead, I got to feel excited by how much I was poised to learn that day. And that attitude makes me want to paint more and thus grow more, not less. With my mindset struggle set aside though, the biggest obstacle I faced all day was just how fast the water changes. When I was out on the shore, I could look at a wave for a brief moment and glean maybe one thing. But trying to assemble every note that I was making about color and value and edges and drawing and composition was just too much to juggle. So I reached for the tool that I knew would simplify all of this so that I could just focus on learning the subject. My phone.
I'm so sad that I can't capture just how like pastel and impressionistic.
I was just thinking that when I was trying to take my photos. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take photos anyway, but
It's
it
so
just
dark.
doesn't.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. I need that HDR. I don't know.
I took some videos and some pictures and took the opportunity to look out into the surf and into my screen simultaneously to study at my own pace exactly what I needed to see in the water. I realized what shape my waves needed to be, what colors to mix, what values to adjust, and which edges I could play with. And finally, a painting came together. My hope is that in hearing this story, you realize that this doesn't just apply to plein air painting, or portraiture, or any other subject for that matter. It's about inviting yourself to love the art of mastering your craft. There's no replacement for having a plan in place that gets you to your specific goal, to having the right support to help you out when you get stuck. And there's no replacement for having an attitude like a Zen master that fosters play and wonder just as much as it fosters focus and training. If you've been watching my videos for a while and you've been looking for a sign to get that kind of help on your painting journey, this is it. All you need to do is click the link in the description to tell me more about yourself and to find a time to talk with me one-on-one. Or you can simply comment painting goals in the comments and I'll reply with a link to help you get started. I look forward to hearing all about exactly what and how you want to paint. And until then, happy painting.